Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name is Scott, and in this episode, I'm going to be taking you through my first draft on the Sun Dream Team fantasy football game. We're still 2 weeks out from the beginning of the season, so I'm still probably going to be making quite a few changes to this team as we get more information. But a lot of you have been asking what my first draft is looking like, and I wanted to share a bit of my thinking going into this new season. So I'm going to share this with you player by player and then give you a little rundown on why I've selected this player initially. Please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're looking to keep up with all the latest Dream Team content. But let's get straight into my team selection. So initially in goal, I'm going to go with Carlos Miguel from Nottingham Forest. Now, I know nothing of this player, which is not a great start, but I like these opening fixtures for Nottingham Forest. They've got Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, and Wolves at home in the first three. I think those fixtures look pretty good. Now, this could also be sells at 2 million. We're not entirely sure which of the two are going to start, and I'm hoping that we'll get a bit more information with these pre-season matches happening. It's a bit mixed online who people think are going to play. I think they've got a friendly this Friday as well, so we might get a bit more indication by then. But it's one that I'm going to probably keep an eye on as we get nearer. But the main idea is I don't want to spend that much money on my goalkeeper. The goalkeepers don't really perform typically that well. And so I feel like it's worth just keeping this as a cheaper slot and maybe upgrading once we build a bit of budget in the season. So I'm going to go for Carlos Miguel to start with. Like I said, it could be sells. Miguel's a 6'8" keeper that they've just purchased. And I think they conceded something like 20 plus goals from set pieces last season. So it looks like this could be an obvious play to try and do a better job of defending these set pieces with a giant goalkeeper. The bonus point system has changed also for Dream Team this season to bring goalkeepers into the mix a little bit more. And two of the things they can get player performance marks for are successful punches and successful claims. Now, just making assumptions because this guy is 6'8", but I'm assuming that he might be better punching the ball out and claiming the ball with that height behind him. So I'm going to go for Miguel to start off with. But like I said, this is going to be dependent on what Nottingham Forest do with their goalkeeping spot. And they've also been linked with Ramsdale as well. So if he does go in goal, I'll be moving away from Forest because I don't want to spend that sort of money. But for the meantime, Miguel in goal, 2 million. Then I'm going to go for Livramento from Newcastle. Now, this is also a little bit of a placeholder position, like the position of Miguel in goal, because this is going to be dependent on if Kieran Trippier leaves, which the rumours sound like there's a good chance that he will. If he does leave, I really like the look of Livramento at right back. So the data's not that great because he wasn't starting a ton of games last season. He started 20 out of his 35 matches, so we've still got a bit to work with. But out of those 20 starts, he got 29 bonus points. Now, that is really good. And this season, I kind of want to try and focus on bonus points a little bit more. Now we've had a full season of sort of getting to grips with how the bonus points work. Now, Southampton at home in the first game, Bournemouth away in the second, and then Tottenham at home in the third. I think look like pretty good fixtures. And if he's getting bonus points as well, with a bit of attacking threat, maybe some tackles thrown in there, I think that he could be valued at 3 million. He did only get 1 goal, 1 assist last season from those 20 starts. But Newcastle were a little bit hit and miss with their back line. They had a load of injuries throughout the season. So I do think they could be a lot better this season if they do have most of their players fit. 3.3 average, which is not good, but again, probably brought down by him having so many substitute appearances. This is one that's going to be a wait and see if Trippier does leave. If he does stay, I won't be going for Livramento. And that £3 million price point, I think there's quite a few good backup options as well that I'm keeping my eye on. I like the look of Munoz from Crystal Palace. Mikolenko from Everton has been pretty good as well. And Everton have got a pretty decent defence. And then Ait Nouri also at 3 million is one I like the look of, but their fixtures aren't quite so good. So plenty of options around the £3 million mark, but for the moment, I'm going to put Livramento there as a placeholder. Any sort of change I do make will probably be around that same sort of price. Now to someone a bit less out there, Vardiol of Manchester City. So he's my only premium defender that I'm looking to have within the sort of defence and goalkeeper spots. I did initially have Robertson in there at 4.5 for the same price because I do like that Ipswich fixture for Liverpool in the first game. But I moved it as soon as I heard that Robertson seems to be an injury doubt. He might not make the start of the season. So I've swapped it to Vardiol at 4.5. And a lot of this I kind of want to keep to a certain price structure, which I think I like the look of. So he's my only premium defender at the minute, Vardiol. In that second fixture, he's got Ipswich at home himself. And then Chelsea away from home. I don't think that is as bad as it looks on paper potentially for Manchester City. He's got good attacking threat, 5 goals, 3 assists last season. Did get 27 bonus points as well as that. And a lot of his attacking returns come towards sort of latter part of the season when he started playing in that advanced left wing back kind of position. If he does do that again, I reckon these numbers are going to be a lot higher as well. So I think that Vardiol potentially could be underpriced compared to the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold at 5.5. And then some of the Arsenal defenders who are coming in at 5 million as well. I think Vardiol will outperform him. And of course, Man City are a really, really good defence as well. So I'm putting Vardiol in there currently. I'll question marks whether or not I might want to try and get Trent for that first fixture against Ipswich and then maybe move to Vardiol later on. But at the moment, I'm going to stick with Vardiol in there in the defence. Then on to my third defender. So I'm sticking to this sort of strategy of picking bonus players. I'm going to go for Anthony Robinson from Fulham. Now, he's got Manchester United away in the first fixture, but then he's got 2 really nice games, Leicester at home and then Ipswich away against 2 of the newly promoted sides. And now following that sort of same bonus strategy, he had 41 bonus points last season. I think that might have been the second most bonus out of the defenders. I think it was behind Konsa. 41 starts, 41 bonus, though. It seems like he is going to get bonus points or a bonus point at least in the majority of games. I think there's clean sheets potentially in these first 3 fixtures, but not only does he get bonus points, he got 7 assists, which is pretty good for a defender, and 111 tackles, which averaged out over those 41 starts or 44 matches, comes out around 2.5 tackles a game. Now on Dream Team, you get 2 tackles, you get a point. So I'm kind of looking at this as 2 for the start, 1 for tackles, and then 1 for bonus points. So he's already on like 4 points without even getting an attack in return or a clean sheet. So I quite like the look of Robinson for things other than clean sheets. But if he gets the clean sheet, then we're in a really, really good position. So I'm liking the look of Robinson, 3 million. I'm trying to pick players that I think could outperform the price that they've been given. Obviously, also with these players that I have chosen, Livramento and Robinson and Miguel, if he plays, will have Carabao Cup in game week 2 as well. The European sides won't be playing in that early round, but the teams that are outside of Europe will be playing in that initial match in the Carabao Cup if they don't rotate. Next up, I'm going to go for Bukayo Saka from Arsenal. I feel like this one needs a bit less justification on the player, but there are a lot of options. So you kind of have to justify why you've gone for him over some of the other options. So like I said, loads of great players around that sort of 5.5, 6.5. You got Foden, you got KDB, Bruno Fernandes, Palmer, Trent is not far off this price point as well. I do also need confirmation on Saka that he definitely will be starting the season. Obviously went and played a lot of football in Europe, in the Euros, getting to the final. I think he's gone back to training this week for Arsenal. So Arteta seems to be fairly confident that it'll be okay to start the season. I think Arsenal rely on someone like Saka a lot more than Manchester City might with some of their players that are late coming back. I don't think Arsenal can afford to rotate as much, and Arteta doesn't like to rotate as much. So I'm fairly confident that Saka is going to start the season. 7.9 average points. And then with City and Chelsea, so I mentioned Foden, I mentioned Palmer, two players that I would like the look of in my team. I think with City and Chelsea playing against each other, I think Saka's got the better fixture with Wolves at home if he does play in it. So I think Saka is going to be the one that I go for, as long as we don't hear anything else. Decent for bonus, 52 bonus points, 20 goals, 16 assists from 46 matches. He's nailed. You don't have to worry about rotation. You sometimes have to worry about injury with Saka, but he's on penalties, corners, the lot. So I really like Saka as my sort of premium midfield slot. Now, you're going to have to bear with me for this next one, because it is a little bit out there. But before I do, please leave a like and subscribe if you're not already. And by all means, comment your team below and I'll try and give you some feedback there. Or if you've got any questions about my lineup so far, just leave them in the comments below. I do always get back to the comments. So next up, we're going to go to James Garner from Everton. Hear me out. He's 2.5 million. So he's an enabler. He's a budget enabler. It helps me get some of the players that we're going to talk about in a minute as well at that price point. The fixtures, I'm not that bothered. Brighton home, Tottenham away, Bournemouth home. Yeah, they're okay. But I'm not picking him for fixtures. I'm not picking him for attacking returns. He's got 2 goals, 3 assists last season, which it helps. But he's got a 4.5 average, which is impressive for the price point. And I'm looking for a cheap enabler that isn't a striker. I don't want a £2.5 million striker. You've got the likes of Visser or Chris Wood that could get you a goal, but they could also blank. And then if you went for a 2.5 defender, you could get clean sheets, but sometimes you'll get nothing. With Garner, he seems to do enough in a load of different areas that he picks up points in most games. I was looking on FF stuff to sort of back this one up, and regardless of the sort of opposition, he's performing okay. Whether it's a top team, a lesser team, he's repeating a lot of different things that will get you points. Now, this is things like tackles, where he got 115 tackles, so he was right up there for the tackle points. 38 bonus points, which is not something you expect, but under this new sort of Dream Team rules, you get bonus for a lot of different metrics, and he performs quite well for a few of them. Some of the ones that he does quite well with, successful crosses. So he's on some set pieces and some corners. I say some because it seems like McNeil puts in swingers in from one side and Garner does it from the other. They share free kicks, they share corners at times. So successful crosses, interceptions, and fouls won made up the bulk of his bonus points. But 38 bonus from 44 appearances is really good. He's nailed. He plays pretty much every game. I think he played the Carabao Cup game for them last season as well. Goals and assists is a bonus, but I just feel like in games, if he can just get me that 4.5 points or in and around that, while I'm building up a bit of budget, I think I'll take that for the price point. Let me know if you agree. The way I looked at this as well is I looked at points per million, so or average points per million. I divided their average points from last season by their points, by their price for this season, to sort of get a average points per million. And he performed quite a bit better than a lot of the other 2.5 people at his price point. So I think that he could represent value here at 2.5 million, but I completely understand it's not a fashionable pick as well. I'm not telling you to put Garner in your team either, by all means. But I just want to try it out. I want to see if it works. And he did pretty well last season for bonus. So I'm really going to try and go down this route of not worrying too much about, are they glamorous? Am I catching them at the right times? Because that's something that I struggled with last season. Picking a goal scorer at their sort of hot streak, or picking a defender when they're on a run for clean sheets, I never seem to do quite well at it. So to pick someone that can just tick along with the points and sort of outscore their price point, I think Garner can do that for me. So yeah, let me know what you think on that pick. I know it won't be for everyone, but it does help me with the rest of this team. So next up, I'm going to go for another James Maddison. 6-point average last season, and has pretty good fixtures to start with. So he faces his old club Leicester in game week 1, Everton at home in game week 2, and then Newcastle away in game week 3 is a pretty tough one. He will have Europe this season for Spurs. I imagine he is going to play in both of those as long as he can keep fit. He has had a few injury problems. He's got the highest average points, so 6 average points for the £4 million price point. Only Bruno Fernandes and Eze have a higher average in the 4.5 category as well. So I still think that, again, I think he could outscore his price point. I'm trying to look at it that way. Will they score more than how they've been priced? Where can we find the underpriced players? I think Maddison could be one of them. Started really strong last season, if you can remember. So he was getting loads of bonus points early, doing really, really well. But then his season did sort of fizzle off through injury. And then when he came back towards the end of the season, he was kind of off form a little bit. So I'm a little bit concerned about how he ended the season and where he is kind of at the moment. I was looking on Twitter earlier because Spurs had a friendly, and a lot of the Spurs fans was sort of not happy with Maddison recently. So I have got to keep an eye on that one. But again, if he can get me bonus points, I'll be happy. If he can keep up that 6-point average, I'll be happy. The only real concern is he doesn't seem to score as many goals as I would like, just the 4 last season. But takes set pieces again, does share them with Porro. 11 assists is pretty good. I just think that he could be value at that price. Next up, another bonus player. So this midfield is packed full of bonus points, and it's Eberechi Eze, 4.5 million. So I like their fixtures again. Brentford away, West Ham at home, Chelsea away. Again, I'm trying to pick a player that I don't think obviously fixtures are always important, but are there players that can do well in sort of any fixture? And something I remember last season, especially with the bonus points, I was at the Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 0 game last season. And Eze came away from a 5-0 defeat with 12 player performance marks and maximum bonus points. Now, that's because the Arsenal players were kicking lumps out of him, giving away fouls. He's doing successful dribbles. He's also just taking pop shots from outside the box, which was getting him shot on target points. Just all round a really, really good performance and a really, really good score, which you wouldn't expect in a 5-0 loss. No attacking returns, but still came away with the points. Is the cheapest player within the top 10 highest average players. So could be value for money there. 7.3 average is unreal. So quite a bit higher than Maddison. 31 games played, 11 goals, 7 assists. He had 37 shots on target. So he's having more than a shot on target a game. And then 48 bonus points from 31 games is pretty impressive. Sort of over 1.5. Should be on all set pieces. Corners, free kicks, penalties. Now Elise's gone. And a little bit of sort of debate that goes on online is how well will he do without Elise in the team? Now, they had a really good run of form towards the end of last season under the new manager, and undeniably, Eze and Elise played really, really well together. But I had a look back at the start of last season when Elise was injured, and the question marks are also about Mateta because he's currently at the Olympics. So they're probably going to start the season without, well, they will start without Elise, but they will also probably start without Mateta. Now, at the start of last season, Mateta wasn't even first choice. Edouard was. And in the opening 4 matches without Elise and Mateta in just one of the matches because he played in the Carabao Cup. Eze scored 8 points, 6 points, 7 points, and 8 points in his first 4 matches. Mateta started just the Carabao Cup match, like I said. Eze didn't start that Carabao Cup match, but he came on, I think, in the second half and got 2 assists. So all under Roy Hodgson as well in this sort of football that was a lot less attacking than what they're playing now under the new manager. So I think Eze could potentially have a really, really good season. It's a valid point. Without Elise, they might be a lot worse off as a team, but I still think Eze can do well. They've also signed Kamada, who seems to sort of play number 10, and Ismail Assar, I think, is almost done. He'll probably play in that right wing position where Elise was. So I think they could still have some pretty decent replacements in those attacking positions. So I like the look of Eze, again, for bonus points mostly. Now on to the big boys. Erling Haaland up top. Not really a surprise there. I probably shouldn't have to justify it too much, but 8.5 million is a big investment of our £50 million budget. He's had the summer off. I had wrote in my notes injury free, but there's been a bit of talk today. He started the match against Barcelona yesterday. I think he would have. I think he scored. He scored in his previous 2 friendlies. He didn't officially score yesterday, but it looked like the ball went over the line for one of the shots he had, and then there wasn't goal line technology, so I think it went in. So he would have had 3 and 3 preseason friendlies. Anyway, he went off at half time, I think it was, and Pep saying he has been struggling with a few knocks, injuries, niggles. So they've got to be careful with him. So that's not something I really want to hear. But if he plays in that sort of Community Shield match in that first fixture, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that he's fine for the Chelsea match. So again, we wait for more info. But 385 points last season. And was currently selected by 53%. So we'll see how that goes. When I first wrote my notes, he was on 51%. So he's creeping up. But there's no way I can start without a 9-point average Erling Haaland in my team. For Chelsea away. Cucurella has been slagging him off in his song. So he's surely going to want to punish Cucurella. And then Ipswich at home in game week 2. That could be the sort of fixture where he gets a brace or a hat trick. So 9 hat tricks in 94 appearances. I think he was the stat that he got back in May, I think it was. So it's not just that he can hit these big points. It's the armband as well, the captaincy. So double points. He's going to be probably the most captained player in the majority of games as well. So I don't want to go without Haaland to start the season. I'm going to put him in. You could probably make up his points. Now, this is an argument. I've had a look at it. You probably could make up his points and value with 2 sort of cheaper players. So if he's 8.5, you could have a £4 million player and a 4.5 million player that combined could very well outscore Haaland. But would you captain that player? Would you have the best possible captain on a number of weeks? I'm not sure you would. So that's why I want to have Haaland in my team. A question we've had quite a lot on the Dream Team Tonic podcast. And while I'm on it, we have done our team reveals or our first draft reveals on the Dream Team Tonic podcast. That will be out by the time this video is out as well. So do check that one out. It went out first to our Patreon members and it will be out later on to everyone on YouTube. But a question we've had from our Patreon members a lot is Haaland or Salah or both. I'm going with both to start the season. £7 million. Again, he's had a full pre-season, fully fresh. A lot of the other attackers from Liverpool have been away either at the Euros or with their clubs, like the likes of Diaz, Jota, Nunez, who also could be in trouble, Gakpo, have all been busy with their international clubs this summer, and Salah's pretty much been the only real attacker they've had in pre-season so far. So I'm backing Salah to start the season. strong again, and Ipswich away from home. Could he potentially be the best captain pick for game week 1? I think he could. The only possible doubts are, how does Slot, the new manager, start? Does it affect Salah's positioning at all, or the way they play? But Salah, like Haaland, have been so reliable. Haaland over the last 2 seasons, but Salah for even longer, since he's come into Liverpool and since he's been a pickable dream team asset for Liverpool, has been amazing. I don't really see that changing anytime soon. So I'm going to start with Salah and Haaland in my team. And I find that, if we see that someone else starts doing well, or people are outperforming the Haaland Salah price point, by all means I'll reassess. But I would prefer to start with these two and then downgrade them than spread their money out and then struggle to get them back after they've had a really good week. So I'm going to start with these two. The only other concern is with these price changes, they seem to be pretty ruthless on the highly priced players. So in most of my team, I've tried to go value for money, people that I think can outperform their price point. With these two, I'm a little bit concerned that if they don't start well, they will lose value. But that's just, I'm willing to deal with that on these two players. Next up, the last player in my team, I reckon you probably would guess it as well. Alexander Isak from Newcastle. 25 goals, 5 assists last season from 40 matches. 7th highest total points in the game, 267 total. Doesn't really do it for bonus, like the rest of my strikers, actually. I've packed the whole team out of bonus, bar the strikers. But these guys score goals. They score points. They're all on penalties. I think Newcastle have got a really nice opening fixture with Southampton at home. If you did go without Haaland, without Salah, Isak could very well be captainable in that first fixture. In at 5 million as well, I think it's a reasonable price for him. I'm not really worried about him dropping from that price point. No Europe, though, for Newcastle. I'll probably have one eye on keeping Isak for the start of the season. And then around game week 4, when we start to get the Champions League, I might try and find the extra 1 million to get Ollie Watkins in that slot. But I'm confident that Isak is going to start the season well. I like those opening fixtures. And I really like the look of that front three. I think that is probably going to be the template front three, which is surprising because Watkins was so good last season. But I just think that just looks so good on paper. The only other sort of player that I was considering for this striker spot, and it would have carried on this sort of bonus targeting strategy, was João Pedro from Brighton. Performed really well for bonus last season, but obviously with De Zerbi there was a lot of rotation. And if he starts playing every game under the new manager, I really am going to be tempted by João Pedro, unless it's sort of Champions League European fixture time. But he didn't go on their preseason tour, so for now, going to go with Isak. He's been banging the goals in preseason as well. So yeah, that is my initial Sun Dream Team game week 1 draft. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. If you've got any questions about it or about your own team, get them in the comments below as well. And if you're looking for a bit more content like this, I'm going to link the Dream Team Tonic podcast after this episode, where myself, Ben, Tony go over our drafts, give our reasons similar to this, and then we answer a few of the questions from our community as well. So do check that one out. I'll link it below. Please leave a like, subscribe to the video if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video.